All right, we're going to talk about some pro tips for the Ravin R29, and this stuff will work also for some other Ravin crossbows and for some other crossbows from other brands as well. If you're hunting, take your time, and while you're cranking, you can push that button in the back and it'll crank slowly. Now what I like to do when it gets to the end and it stops right there, I like to just go back a little bit, let go of the button, and I just like to hear a few full solid clicks and have a little bit of slippage in the clutch. And I feel confident that it is ready to go. The next thing you want to do, make sure there is space behind your trigger. If there is not, then this thing is not ready to fire, it's not cranked enough, or something's broken. Another tip, get a high quality target. I recommend the spider web, no speed limit. This thing's freaking awesome for field points. They come right out, it stops them, nowhere near your fletchings. Also, this will void your warranty, but what I do is I get fire knock, lighted knocks, because they're freaking awesome. They are expensive, but you should have them for a long time, and the batteries are not too expensive to replace. Let's go ahead and shoot this thing so I can show you my next tip. And I'll tell you right now, this is going to be loud. Also, another pro tip, when you do your trigger, grab it and pull it down so it doesn't click. Kind of see the crossbow there. There's that fire knock reliably turning on. And I'll show you the other great thing about the fire knock. Target works really well, you saw that. You're just supposed to hold it upside down a little bit, drop it, and it shuts off. Next tip, this doesn't really apply to me very often, because usually I go hunting and I don't shoot anything. And so when I decock the crossbow, the sled is already attached to the string. But what you can do before you go hunting is slide your sled down. So, get your pressure off of there, take your sled down, and ready for this part, you're going to avoid having to make this noise, that click. So you're avoiding that click, you're avoiding all that movement, and you're avoiding extra steps, which if you're in a tree stand, it's a little bit safer that way. So just take your sled, hook it to the string before you go hunting. Another tip, if you do end up having to slide the sled down, when you take the crank off, don't set it down anywhere, just hold on to it, slide your sled down. That way there's no chance of you dropping it. I like to have the bipod on there that I make, because for cranking and decranking, I can put this up on the rail and that helps stabilize it. And when I'm hunting, I either have it on the rail or on my leg, and that helps stabilize it also on my lap. The strings and cables that I got from Ravin when I bought this thing new, the center serving didn't last very long. Ravin replaced it for free. I did have to pay the shop to install it, but I have a press now. Currently, I have Archery Shack strings and cables on here. They look fine. They're not showing any signs of wear, but I really haven't shot this thing enough since I got them to really know how long they're gonna last. A lot of people like gas strings and cables also. But what you're gonna wanna do is frequently check your strings and cables on the tops and the bottoms of your cams all over the crossbow from end to end. Keep an eye on their condition. When they're starting to show signs of wear or breakage, you need to replace them. That's gonna make it so you probably never have a situation where your cable or string breaks. All right, so when you are checking the cable ends on your crossbow, when the cable comes around the cam right here, there is no serving on these strands of the cable. So they will start to split apart right there. So check that, make sure those aren't splitting. If they are, your cables need changed out with your strings. And then these strands here are going this way, and they hold this loop together. So when those strands start to break, it's also time to change out your strings and cables. Then here we have your center serving. So when your sled is not in the way, you want to check the condition of that. And then on the other end of your cables right here, there are these strands going this way. Keep an eye on those also for when those start to break. Another thing that I like to do is there are two screws here that you can tighten and loosen to adjust whether your quiver is parallel with your crossbow or if they're tilting out. But I like to keep that one, this back one here, it's right about here, I just like to keep it snug because sometimes I want my arrows like that and sometimes I want them in like that. So I just leave it like that, and anytime I want to move this to either position, I can just move it. So this last tip is more of a hunting tip than a Ravin crossbow tip, but what I'm going to start doing is setting my alarm on my phone and make sure my phone is on vibrate so that it will go off when it is quitting time, because when I'm in the woods, usually I end up quitting when I think it's dark and I think it's quitting time, even though like my camera can still pick up what's going on, my scope can still pick up what's going on. But if the alarm's set, I don't have to guess, I don't have to pull my phone out and make that extra movement, and maybe in my lifetime that's going to get me 1 or 2 extra deer. Here is another Ravin video if you want to check that out.